All right, well, hopefully you can see my screen's good. You guys can see me and hear me? All right. And also just as a, if you get tired of looking at the slides, you can right-hand corner of my slide where those 3 dots are and pin the video. That way it'll feel like I am talking directly to you and you don't have to look at the slides the entire time, just so you know. But particularly, not only are we in the Thanksgiving season, but we are also, 7, 8, 10 years, 7, 8 months, 10 years of this whole pandemic that's been going on. So really focusing on, finding those gratitude strategies right now to not only get us through the rest of this year, but also take us into 2021. So let my little. Okay. So first of all, watch box, go ahead and type in where you are from. Because I want to, like for me, I'm born and raised, ended up in Northeast Ohio, but I see we have my friend Catherine is in the house from Youngstown. We have okay, we do have some out of state. We have one New York in the house. Everybody else is in, okay, we have some Atlanta, Michigan. Okay, that's awesome. All righty, let's start from here and from the present, from the current slide, Okay, so we did that one. All right. All right, so when it comes to things that we've been into right now, this whole social distancing and sheltering in place, and I know we have the stay-at-home orders or the curfew that's intact right now, so it starts at 10. Thankfully, Scott and I were out of the state of Ohio by 10 o'clock driving in our car when we left on Saturday to come down to Atlanta. But right now there's a full range of emotions that we're going through right now. And again, I know I'm going to go back and forth with the screen sharing and not, because I want you to use the chat again. But, there's 6 different emotions, and I just kind of want to find out where you are right now, because maybe right now you're angry because, it's Thanksgiving anger that's coming back because we should be done with this by now. Maybe you're fearful because, like me, the COVID is hitting close to home. Both of my brother-in-laws, both of my sister-in-laws have had it, and now both of my nephews. Maybe you're neutral. You're like, Lisa, I am an introvert. So this whole thing about, social distancing and not hugging and shaking hands, man, it is fine with me because that's what I prefer. Maybe you're hopeful because you're starting to see some semblance of normalcy. We're starting to meet again and see people, even though it is virtual. Maybe you're happy that there's beer. So on a scale of 1 to 6, go ahead and put that in the chat as far as where you are right now. 1, angry, 2, fearful, 3, neutral, 4, hopeful, 5, happy, and 6, happy there's beer. And let me see if I can see the chat. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Yay, chat is coming. Okay, so we have some 6s. Happy there's wine. Actually, the funny part about that is I did a program a couple weeks ago for the Kentucky Society of Association Executives. So instead of beer, of course, I had to talk about the fact that there's bourbon. So let's see, 6, and also sad that I can't see my son and grandkids. You know what, that's going on a lot right now. We want to be able to see our family, but we also don't want to be in one of those super spreader events right now. So what we're missing really is that basic human connection. And just in case you're curious, yes, I did bootleg some pictures off of your Facebook page. So some of you may see yourself in my video. And I figured that this was a really good representation anyway. Not only are you wearing cool wind masks, but you're also wearing masks. Sample, a year ago, it was Halloween of 2019, and this was me and my dad. My dad's been in assisted living. Actually, this month, it'll be 2 years. He fell out of bed at my brother's house in Thanksgiving 2 years ago this month. And we had to move him. He broke his hip. His birthday, he turned 79 on June 25th. And I told the nurse manager, I said, I have got to hug my dad. possibly do, because my father is in one of 2 assisted living facilities in Cuyahoga County that have not had any COVID whatsoever. And I prefer that they stay that way. But when it comes to gratitude in times like this, it's not just a good idea. It really is essential to life. Actually, one of the few people back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but I didn't hear what you said for 10 seconds about before mom got.
Oh, okay. All right. Did you hear that I sold my mother? Anyway, I placed my mom in a job she didn't like very well, but I told her she had to stay there at least 90 days because I couldn't afford to give back the commission that I made on her. So from there, I went into 13 years of industrial sales, where I sold things like welding products. And yes, I do weld. And then I spent the last 7 years of my career in healthcare. But what changed everything was in 2009 when I went on a fire walk. And yes, it does look like that. Any fire walkers here, go ahead and put that in the chat if you have walked on fire. Because with me, that one that I did in 2009 wasn't the first one. I did my first fire walk in 1989 when I was 6, just in case you're doing the math. The first one was, do you have, Laura? Yes. I have another fire walker here. And when we were driving home from Chicago, we were pretty pumped up, because when you walk on fire, as Laura can tell you, and as Andrea can tell you, you're pretty jacked up. You might actually say you are fired. During experiences that we had, people we met. And one of my friends said, why don't we write down 3 things we're grateful for? Okay, did it every day. And it was that practice that noticing at the time that I hadn't, customers that I hadn't talked to for months were calling me. And I noticed the difference from my husband. We're grateful for. The second group, all the troubles, all the hassles, things that bugged them. Third group simply recorded the day's events. They were the control group. After headaches and stress levels and relationships, because he wanted to see the chronically happy people from, let's just call them the chronically not so happy people. He saw that 25%. The gratitude exercised on average 1.5 more per week than the other 2 groups. They can list. So by choosing positive emotions that we're going to get more into that can help you and help your health. They were more happy, joyful, and to see if they noticed a difference. And they did. They found that where they were more emotionally available, they were nicer to be around. So that's the key. Gratitude work. I'm going to go through what I call my S.H.O.W program, and that we're going to take a look at changes your perspective. And again, I want to go back to the point that a lot of times, because we're in Thanksgiving and we're in the holidays, all this focus is on Thanksgiving or on giving thanks. But this is really something we want to go throughout the year, because the H is the health benefits we're going to talk about. The O, our relation programs way back in the day. And I know that she's been utilizing these practices since. But the first one is that morning gratitude journal of waking up in the morning and before your feet hit the floor to write down 3 to 5 things for which you're grateful. Now, the nice thing about the morning journal is that you can be grateful in advance. You know, for example, this morning I wrote down, I'm so thankful that I rocked the program. But people will say, does it need to be written down? And if you think about it, you write things down, this is a straw, not a pen, but you're feeling the pen in your hand, you're seeing on paper, you're hearing the words. And the other thing too, is some mornings you're going to wake up and you're going on in your life. And it doesn't have to be, oh, yay, I won the lottery, or yay, I just met the love of my life, or whatever it is. It can be, you know what? I'm glad that I have running water, flushing toilets, a warm, comfortable bed, reliable transportation, you know, whatever it is. It's mind. The evening journal, I also call the wins journal. How appropriate is that? but you look back on the day and look at and try to come up with 3 to 5 good things that happened during the day today. Now, I know that there's some days that are extremely frustrating, but you know, if you really think about it, something good that happened today, you can always find it. And if you're watching the news right before you go to bed at night, for the love of all that's good, stop. We want to be able to go to bed with positivity, not murder and mayhem and everything else that they're trying to plug into our mind right before we go to sleep. And then we have an activity called the ABCs of gratitude that I came up with. And basically all you're doing is taking a random letter in the alphabet. So maybe tonight I'll start with W and say, I'm grateful for all the people for WIN that showed up today. Okay, and so we're getting to X. Now I don't have to be grateful for your xylophone, because goodness knows I don't have kids or grandkids who would have one, but I don't think I'd be thankful for it anyway. But it can be, I'm grateful for the exciting time that I'm having, the exciting, whatever it is, game, make it up as days that you'll go to that, you know, but pick one letter in the alphabet and come up with as many things as she could be grateful for with that one letter. So you have 3 practices there: morning journal, evening journal, and the ABCs of gratitude to really get you into that habit. So the 30-day gratitude challenge, and this is always a good thing to start now. I remember the first time that I did an official gratitude challenge. It was a 30-day challenge with daily videos and inspirational thing, all this stuff going on. And at the end of it, people would write me and they'd say, I'm so sorry, the gratitude challenge is over. I really enjoyed keeping track of my gratitude. And I just kind of laughed, because part of my evil plan is to have you keep track of your gratitudes, to get into the habit and not writing down 5 things that you're grateful for. The second one is to express appreciation verbally to people, and you know, people that are unexpected, that maybe you don't thank on a regular basis, making those connections. The thank you note and the letter of appreciation. You know, it might be saying, well, what's the difference? And this is the world according to Lisa Ryan. A thank you note is thank you for something. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for dinner. Thank you for your time. A letter of appreciation is thank you because these are the reasons that I am glad that you are in my life. And particularly this time of year, of taking the time, because we all have plenty of it right now, and writing that letter of appreciation. Think about who needs to hear from me today, and just take a couple minutes and write that person a note. Because when you tell somebody you appreciate them, you create a beautiful memory. But when you write it down, you create a treasure. And then the 5th way is to reflect and meditate on gratitude for at least 5 minutes. So all of these different practices, just getting you into that daily habit. Again, the one that I like and I use the most is the gratitude journal. And it's just, you know, it kind of gives you all of those ebbs and flows in life. And it's a pretty, I can tell you, it has rewired my brain as it does. And that bad things still happen, but instead of wallowing in that, you know, my brain will click into, okay, what's one thing that I can find to be grateful for about that? And if you used to keep a gratitude journal and you got out of the head, you know, forgive yourself, move on. That's why I like no dates in it, because there's no guilt that goes along with that. You know, you forget a couple days, you're out of town or whatever it is, just go right back and start over again. Sometimes if you have a journal with a date, it makes you feel all guilty because you have a couple blank dates. It's like, oh, I'm out of the habit, just going to forget it now. Don't do that. So I want you to, in the chat box, go ahead and let's get a little bit of practice in. Share one thing that you are particularly grateful for today, because that's really as easy as it is. And if you can, add some specifics. You know, because if every day I wrote down, I'm grateful for my husband, I'm grateful for my cats, I'm grateful for my house, well, that gets really boring. But I'm so grateful that Scott drove all 12 hours to get us down to Atlanta. I'm so grateful for my kitties sitting on my lap at home when I'm there. Let's see. So grateful for communities like this. And my employees spending Thanksgiving. Happy friends. When we just take the time and write it down, that's where the magic happens. You know, good health. Of course, that's something that we can all really focus on right now. Family and friends. The reason that I say to try 5 is because a lot of times what happens is the first 3 come relatively quickly. And then the next 2 numbers take you just a little bit deeper. And I love this quote because it's so true, isn't it? We spend the first part of our life using our health to get wealth. And then, of course, the second part of our life using our wealth to get our health back. So when it comes to things like frustration, you know, and these negative emotions, the Institute of Heart Math, which is in California, does studies where they take a look at and appreciation and its impact on the heart. So if we see what's going on here, the first group, they hooked them up to monitors, they put them through a period of frustration, anxiety, stress, and that's the way that their heart was beating, kind of all over the place, like a little lie detector test there. But the bottom one, same people, they put them through a period of appreciation, and you can see the difference in the heartbeat. And so we can see this, and this is the one that I really take home with you, because when it comes to comparing anger and compassion, the immune system for up to 6 hours. Those same 5 minutes, however, spent in compassion actually elevate the performance of your immune system for those same 6 hours. So when you are letting all of those people living rent-free in your head, they're killing you. Let them go. You know, look for ways to choose positive emotions, because it definitely has, like, and I use is just called 4-7-8. And it goes like this. You breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and release for 8. If you do that 5 times, you will physically take yourself out of the stress response. Another one is box breathing, where you're breathing in. The Lisa Ryan addendum, though, is if you can say something nice, do. There's lots of ways that we can do this. You know, probably in your offices, in your wherever you're working, you have Post-it notes. You know, one of the greatest tools ever for expressing appreciation, giving someone that tangible evidence of a job well done. Sending texts to people, you know, thinking about who needs to hear from me today. Now, I heard the story online. So about a woman, significant other, you know, honey, I love you, I miss you, can't wait to see you later, whatever it is. Click send and wait for the responses. Well, the response, we need to get out of, we need to stay in practice with people. I know I tried that at one of my programs where I had everybody like, oh, so touching. And another guy walked up to me and he showed me what he had sent a note to his cousin. And his cousin sent him a text back saying, are you at one of those workshops where they're making you do activities? So yeah, I got totally busted. But the point is the love, the 5 love languages. Familiar with that book? The Cliff Notes version is that there's 5 ways that we get our love tank filled. Words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, quality time, and gifts. At the beginning of a relationship, we're all about, you know, functioning on all 5 of those love languages. But sometimes what happens as that relationship goes on is that we revert to the way that we get our love tank filled instead of focusing on the other person. So knowing what makes the other person somebody that you can connect with today. And go ahead, and if you're comfortable, go ahead and put that in the chat. That way you're making a commitment to yourself. You're making a commitment publicly. But sometimes it's just, you think about who needs to hear from me today, and somebody pops into your mind and you're not quite sure why that person did, but there's a reason there. One of my clients actually goes to the post office every month and gets a sheet of stamps. So either 16 or 20 stamps, depending on what it is. And her goal is to write enough thank you notes every month so that my husband was still working. He's been furloughed since Easter, but I used to sneak, Post-it notes into his lunch. And now, mind you, the first one was to the world's most amazing husband from the world's most incredible wife, something along those lines. But Scott actually took that note, put it on his cubicle, on his wall, took a picture of it and texted it to me. Scott and I have been married for 24 years. And even though Scott doesn't keep a gratitude journal, because I do, I still notice the difference from him. And that's how we keep our relationships going, is that we let people know how much we appreciate them. So I'm so proud of you for going ahead and putting that in the chat, reaching out to people. I see the friend Valerie who works at the Cleveland Clinic. I mean, everybody who's in healthcare right now, what a tough job that is. Not only the fear of exposing yourself and your loved ones, but almost the helplessness of not knowing, what to do or being able to give comfort as far as when this pandemic is coming to some kind of end. Hopefully one of these vaccines will be working soon. Things like meeting on Win via Zoom. We want to be together in person, but the fact that we have this technology that makes it so incredibly easy for us to still meet is huge. This past week, I was actually speaking at a conference for the first time as an avatar, which is the weirdest thing ever. I got to choose her outfit and her hairstyle and makeup and everything, and she was the one presenting while I was voicing her character. But the cool thing about it is that she did dance, and unfortunately she dances better than me. Of my phone and creating Shutterfly from albums, awesome. So wanting to be educated about essential oils and products without toxins, all of these things that we're paying attention to that maybe we didn't before. And COVID has given us lots of opportunities. This is probably one of my favorite ones. We started a family Zoom back in March. I asked my mother, hey, let's get on Zoom. And she said, I don't know anything about that. I don't want to be a part of it. Instead of taking the easy way out and just FaceTiming her, I said, no, let's get on Zoom. I told her how to do it. So the first time it was me since March. On Saturdays, it's international Zoom. So these are my family cousins from all over the world. And then every Wednesday night, it's been one of the gifts that we've had. My niece, Brittany, who is here where the shutters are right here, but she announced her pregnancy on Zoom. We had her Zoom baby shower and at the hospital in labor. So it kind of went full circle. Now we've gotten to meet my new great niece, Isla, also on Zoom. I do have a gift for you. If you would like a copy of my first book, this is the PDF of The Upside of Downtimes. All you'll do is you'll text the word engage to 66866. So as if you're putting in the phone number is 66866, the word engage. You will get an email from me asking for your first name and your email address. The reason why I asked for first name is if your email address is mary.smith@abc.com, it's easy for me to say, hi, Mary. If your email address is hotbikerchick@yahoo, I don't really want to send you an email like that. And that's no other pitch or anything. You're just getting my book. And then you will also receive Gratitude Thought of the Week, which comes out every Thursday, as Laura can vouch.
What to text?
Oh, sure. you text the word engage 6866 and without the quotes. Okay. So finally, in our last couple minutes, be transparent. Be transparent with your clients who are working for you, sharing the impact of chips and feel that your life is perfect. So sometimes that little bit of vulnerability of letting people know, hey, this is what's going on, expressing empathy, because you don't know. We're facing so many different challenges. People who have kids, are they in school? Are they not in school? Are they hybrid? People like me who have parents in assisted living, are they okay? Are they going to catch COVID? And it's not just reaching out to people from a purely business standpoint. It's connecting personally. How are you? And being tactical. We've already looked at some of the gifts that we've gotten of COVID. Once we are at that magical time post-COVID, can't wait till we can say that. But the things that you learned now, continue to figure out ways that we can use these moving forward, because we've been given so many. Everybody who's taking care of you, from the people in your life or the people that you work with, from your customers, because we are in that type of isolation and people are working hard. We're all doing the very best we can with the situation that we have. So whether it be that written thank you, that handwritten note, verbally saying it, we just want to make sure that we are acknowledging people. And so one of the last, just go ahead and put that in the chat. How is it that you're keeping in touch with Zoom? Is nice from the standpoint, and I'm so glad that, so many of you have been on camera, or at least were on camera at the beginning, because that's what we're missing is seeing people's faces, connecting, seeing how their emotions are. So when you are on Zoom meetings, when you're with a group of people, it doesn't matter what you look like or that your cats or dogs in the background or whatever. We've become a lot more human. So make sure that you come off camera and get involved with that. Okay, staying in touch with mom. Zoom is just crazy. Burnout. So let's just, the last thing that we're going to do in the chat here before I turn it back over to Yolanda is to just, what's one thing that you're going to do as a result of our time together? Maybe you've gotten out of a gratitude practice, so you're going to start journaling again. Maybe you're going to focus more on, taking care of yourself from a health standpoint. Of choosing positive emotions. Maybe it's in the relationship with others that you're making that call. Engage to 668, and that will give you my first and probably book, The Upside of Downtimes, Discovering the Power of Gratitude. And if you'd like to stay in touch with me, I am all over social media, probably the most active. I'm always been posting videos and articles. So if we're not already connected, and I know for the most part, we're a lot of your friends and family. And now back.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you so much. I have a question for you, and we do have time for questions, guys. We've got about 4 minutes or so. So if you have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself. So Lisa, I was trying to text for your book, and it's one more digit. It's not working for me. I don't know if anybody else is having that problem.
It's 66866.
Yeah.
And then the
It's not working for me. Maybe it's just my phone. Didn't get it.
It worked for me. It worked for me.
66866, and then type in
66866.
66, and then type in for your message, engaged.
Mm-hmm. I know how to do it. It's just not, my phone is requiring 6 numbers and you're only giving 5.
It is 6 numbers.
Huh,
Six,
that's
six.
weird. You know, send me an email. Just send me to Lisa at Gratitude if it's not working.
It's 5 numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The only time that I've seen that it not worked, it only works in the United States. I was speaking in Canada.
She practices so much with my coaching clients. And it's surprising how many people in the business world poo-poo gratitude, which really puts you at a very, very high vibration. And if anybody looks at anything at the law of attraction, you know, you want your vibration to be as high as possible, and gratitude does it. In the area of emotional intelligence, they have this concept called positive emotion attractors, and then of course, negative emotion attractors. And the research actually done at Case Western Reserve University said cancel out the impact of the negative. And I think all of us would agree that we're usually the opposite ratio. We have the 3 negatives to 1 positive. Right. And then in our personal lives, it's 5 to 1. We need 5 positives, not just during November or Thanksgiving or in our personal lives, but in our business lives. I mean, it has a real place in business. I'm just, no pun intended, I'm just so grateful that you presented this today to maybe open people's awareness on how valuable and powerful this emotion can be. Thank you so much. I really took away a lot from your presentation.
Oh, good. You know, and thank you, and you're very welcome. The thing to keep in mind about gratitude is that we do it for us. Get in the habit yourself of saying thank you, of being, but what that's doing. And if you're saying, well, she never says thank you back to me, why should I continue? Because you're not doing it for that person. You're doing it for you. And you don't know what happened to that person 10 minutes before you walked into the room. You may be the only bright spot that person here. He said, you know, it doesn't matter. We do gratitude for us because you saw from the heart, from the stress level, from, you know, choosing positive emotions, and that's totally your choice.
Thank you so much for that. So we're at just a little past 1. So, you know, we like to start and end promptly. So if you have to get off, feel free to do that. Again, I want to thank you, Lisa, so much.
You're very welcome. And feel free if anything else comes up, you have questions, feel free to send me an email. I'm here.
That is great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Everyone, enjoy your time with your families and with your friends and your loved ones. And we will see you back here again next Tuesday at noon.
Okay. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks, Lisa.
Bye.
Bye-bye.